My son-in-law smiled at my face, while quietly destroying everything I loved. He pulled my daughter away from me, twisted her thoughts, and made her believe that I was the problem in her life. He never shouted, never raised his hand in front of others. He hurt with silence. He controlled with sweetness. And he broke my family with a polite smile. This is my story. A mother's story. And the story of the smiling stranger who walked into our lives and slowly tore it apart. Emily first brought Daniel home on a Sunday afternoon. He walked in with flowers, touched my feet, and said, "Mrs. Harper, Emily tells me you're the strongest woman she knows." His manners were perfect, his tone respectful, his eyes soft. I welcomed him with open arms. That day I believed my daughter had found a good man. But some storms don't come with thunder. They come with silence. After the wedding, Emily's calls became shorter, her visits less frequent. "Mom, Daniel says we should build our own space." "Mom, I'll come next weekend." "Mom, don't worry so much." She wasn't rude, just different, a little distant, and Daniel always smiled, as if he was watching the distance grow intentionally. Daniel never argued, never raised his voice. He simply suggested, "Auntie, Emily gets stressed when you worry too much. Auntie, she needs independence now. Auntie, let us handle our own life." Every sentence soft, every sentence a thread pulling Emily farther from me. I didn't notice the rope being made until it was already tight. Slowly Emily began saying things she never believed before. "Mom, maybe I rely on you too much. Mom, Daniel understands me better. Mom, don't interfere in small matters." These weren't her thoughts. These were Daniel's words, spoken through her lips. She wasn't speaking. She was echoing. One evening Emily whispered on a call, "Mom, Daniel said you told him he's not good enough for me." My heart stopped. I never said that. Not even once. But when I tried to explain, Emily said softly, "Mom, please don't make this harder." Daniel had planted his first lie, and Emily believed him. Whenever I visited, Daniel welcomed me politely. Tea ready, house clean, smiling. But behind every smile was irritation he tried to hide. When Emily hugged me, I saw Daniel watching, with eyes that measured, judged, calculated. His presence felt like permission, as if Emily needed his approval to love her own mother. One day, while folding laundry, I saw a faint bruise on Emily's arm. What happened? Before Emily could answer, Daniel laughed. She slipped in the kitchen. Clumsy girl. Emily forced a smile, but her eyes looked away. I knew something was wrong, but Daniel's gentle tone made every truth sound like overthinking. Sophie is Emily's older sister's daughter, her little niece. She often visited Emily's apartment. Heavy check mark, sometimes Emily babysat her. Heavy check mark, sometimes Sophie came to spend time with her favorite aunt. Heavy check mark, sometimes her parents dropped her for a few hours. And because children notice everything silently, Sophie saw things inside that home that none of us adults ever did. One afternoon, Sophie quietly sat beside me and whispered, "Grandma, Uncle Daniel gets angry when you're here." My heart sank. How do you know, sweetheart?" "He tells Aunt Emily not to talk to you too much. He says you like drama." That was the moment my fear turned into truth. Daniel wasn't creating distance. He was manufacturing it. One night at 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. A message from Sophie. "Grandma, can you come? Aunt Emily is crying." I rushed to their apartment. Emily sat on the kitchen floor, knees pulled to her chest, eyes red and swollen. Her phone shattered beside her. Daniel sat calmly in the living room, watching TV like nothing had happened. His calmness scared me more than Emily's tears. I helped Emily stand. She avoided my eyes, as if someone had warned her not to speak. "Sweetheart, what happened?" she whispered. I dropped my phone, Mom. "I'm fine." But her hands were shaking, and her breath uneven. She wasn't fine. She was frightened. Later that night, I took Sophie aside. "Tell me exactly what you saw." She sniffed and said, "Uncle Daniel pushed her." She fell on the phone. He told her not to cry or he'd say you make her stressed. My heart broke in a way I didn't know possible. A child had seen the truth. The adults missed. Next morning, I went to see Emily again. This time Daniel didn't bother with a big smile. Just a controlled, irritated sigh. Auntie, I think it's best if you stop coming unannounced. Emily gets overwhelmed. I said, she's my daughter. He replied, and she's my wife. She listens to me now. At that moment, his mask completely slipped. I saw the monster behind the manners. Over the next few days, Emily's behavior changed even more. She spoke less, smiled rarely, avoided eye contact. Her voice was always low, like she was choosing words carefully, to avoid waking a sleeping monster. She wasn't living. She was surviving. Whenever I called Emily, Daniel answered, she's sleeping. She's busy. She's resting. She's not feeling well. It was always him, never her. He wasn't just controlling her routine. He was controlling her access to love. One day, I reached their apartment door and heard Daniel's voice inside. Cool, calm, sharp. You embarrass me when you cry. You act like a child. You should be grateful I haven't left. If you call your mother again tonight, you'll regret it. My heart shattered. Suddenly, crash. Something broke. Emily cried out, Daniel, please. I didn't think. I pushed the door open. Emily sat on the floor again, holding her wrist, her eyes full of pain. Daniel stood a few feet away, breathing heavily. The moment he saw me, his smile returned. Auntie, she slipped again. She's so clumsy. But this time, Emily didn't try to pretend. Her silence told the truth. I knelt beside Emily. Sweetheart, what happened? She shook her head quickly, eyes filled with fear more than pain. Mom, please don't say anything. Don't make it worse. Worse. That one word said everything. She couldn't. Daniel stood behind me, arms crossed loosely, as if he was supervising the entire scene. Emily falls a lot. He said casually, maybe you should teach her how to walk properly, Auntie. His tone was polite, his smile subtle, his words poison. And Emily, she whispered again, Mom, please don't fight. Not now. Please. She wasn't protecting him. She was protecting herself from his anger. Daniel walked closer, his shoes clicking softly against the floor. Auntie, can I speak to you for a moment? He asked sweetly. I didn't want to, but I followed him into the hallway. He lowered his voice. Stop interfering. You're confusing Emily. You're making things harder. Then he leaned in even closer. A marriage doesn't need a third person, especially a mother who doesn't know how to let go. My blood boiled, but he kept smiling. A calm, polite, deadly smile. Auntie, go home. He said softly. We'll handle this. We don't need your emotional drama here. And then he walked away, as if nothing had happened. Emily didn't call me the next day, nor the day after. When I tried calling her, Daniel picked up every single time. Auntie, she's tired. Auntie, she's sleeping. Auntie, she's cooking. Auntie, she's not feeling well. His voice controlled her life, like a remote control in the wrong hands. 3 days later, I finally heard Emily's soft voice. Mom, please stop coming here so much. Daniel thinks you don't trust him. I don't. I said silently in my mind. But out loud I said, Daughter, I trust you. She didn't respond. Just a quiet exhale. The sound of someone who feels trapped, but can't admit it yet. Daniel had built walls around her mind, and she was slowly forgetting how to climb out. A week passed. I visited my older daughter's house, where little Sophie lived. Sophie ran to me immediately. Grandma, did you save Aunt Emily? My heart twisted. What do you mean, sweetheart? She whispered. Uncle Daniel gets angry when she talks to you. He says bad things about you. He said Aunt Emily only listens to him now. Her small hands trembled as she spoke. Grandma, why does he talk like that? Why does he hurt her? Tears welled in my eyes. Children see the truth. Adults try to hide. I decided to confront Emily alone. I waited until I knew Daniel would be at work. Then I went to her apartment. Emily opened the door, Eyes tired, face pale, like sleep hadn't touched her in days. And why did you come? Because I'm your mother, I whispered. She hugged me tightly, too tightly, like she had been holding her breath for days, and finally exhaled. Emily, tell me the truth. She didn't speak. She just cried silently on my shoulder, her tears burning my skin. When she finally pulled back, she wiped her eyes quickly. Mom, Daniel doesn't like it when you come. That wasn't an answer. It was a warning Daniel had planted in her. While she made tea, I noticed something under the couch. A phone. Broken. Screen shattered. The same phone I had seen on the floor earlier that week. Picked it up. Emily froze. Mom, please put that down. Why is it broken? She shook her head. I dropped it. Twice. I asked softly. Silence. Not a normal silence. A terrified silence. I gently took her hand. Did Daniel break this? Her chin trembled. Her eyes filled again. But she whispered only 2 words. Please don't. Fear had replaced her voice. Suddenly the door unlocked. Daniel walked in. His eyes instantly flicked from Emily, to me, to the broken phone in my hand. And his smile returned. Auntie, what a surprise. His tone sounded calm, but his eyes burned. Emily stepped back instinctively. Just one small step, but enough for me to understand everything. He politely took the phone from my hand. Oh, this? Emily drops everything. She's so clumsy. Emily looked down, like she was apologizing for breathing. Daniel put a hand on her shoulder gently, but she flinched. I saw it. He saw it. Everyone saw it. But he still smiled. Daniel turned to me. Auntie, you should go home now. Emily needs rest. I looked at my daughter. Baby, do you want me to leave? She opened her mouth, but Daniel squeezed her shoulder lightly. She whispered, Mom, please go. Not because she wanted me gone, but because she was afraid of what would happen if I stayed. My heart broke into pieces. I stood at the door, fighting tears. Emily didn't come to hug me goodbye. She didn't even look up. She just stared at the floor, silent, still shrinking. And Daniel gently closed the door between us. When Daniel closed the door, it didn't sound like wood shutting. It sounded like a bond breaking. I stood there for a moment, hoping, pleading silently, that Emily would open it again, just to say, Mom, don't leave. But she didn't. Her silence followed me, down the hallway, down the stairs, and into the night. That night I paced the living room, hugging Emily's childhood photo to my chest. The same girl who once ran to me, for every scraped knee, every nightmare, every heartbreak, was now trapped in a nightmare she couldn't even describe. I kept seeing the way she flinched when Daniel touched her shoulder. That wasn't love. That wasn't marriage. That was fear. The next morning I went to my older daughter's home, Sophie's mother. The moment she opened the door, I broke down in her arms. I'm losing Emily, I whispered. I can't reach her anymore. She held me gently. Mom, we all know something's wrong. We've seen it. But Emily shuts down whenever we ask. Little Sophie stood behind her, eyes wide and scared. Sophie's mom sighed deeply. Mom, I need to show you something. She pulled out her phone and played a recording. Emily's voice came through, shaky, terrified. Daniel, please don't push me. I didn't do anything. Daniel's voice followed, cold but quiet. You embarrass me when you act stupid. Shut up. Stop crying. Then a loud crash. And Emily's sobbing. I covered my mouth. I couldn't breathe. Sophie whispered. I recorded it. I was hiding behind the couch. This wasn't rumor. This wasn't suspicion. This was proof. I sat at the table staring at the phone. I could confront Daniel, but that would only make things worse for Emily. Or I could be smart, patient, careful. I chose careful, because saving someone who's trapped by fear requires strategy, not anger. I met a family attorney the next day. After hearing the recording, he took a deep breath. This is domestic abuse. I nodded, tears filling my eyes. I need to get my daughter out. He leaned forward. If she leaves suddenly, That's when abusers become most dangerous. We need to prepare quietly. Build a safety plan. Every word felt like a stone on my chest, but I knew he was right. Later that night, Emily sent me a message. Mom, I miss you. A second later, please don't reply. Daniel checks my phone. I dropped the phone on my lap. My daughter was reaching out from inside a cage. She didn't know how to escape. Over the next few days, I put together a small bag, a new clothes, medication, a prepaid phone, cash, charger, toiletries, a copy of her documents. I hid it in my house. It wasn't just a bag. It was an escape plan. 3 days later, I went to Emily's apartment. Daniel opened the door. No fake smile this time. What do you want? He asked flatly. Where's Emily? She's tired. I want to see her. He stepped closer. You coming here over and over is making things worse. The politeness was gone. The mask had slipped. Emily finally walked into view. Her face was pale, her eyes swollen, her wrists slightly bruised. Mom, she whispered. I held her. She trembled. That's not how a woman behaves. Around someone she feels safe with. That's how a woman behaves. Around someone she fears. I cupped her face gently. Emily, do you feel safe? Her lips shook. Her eyes filled. She didn't answer. But her silence was louder than anything she could have said. The moment she saw Daniel step closer, she wiped her tears and forced a smile. A survival smile. Daniel placed his hand on her arm. Emily flinched. A quick, involuntary reaction. Barely there. But I saw it. He saw me noticing it. His jaw tightened. For the first time, he didn't even try to smile. He walked toward me. Emily needs peace, he said softly. And you coming here is creating problems. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. Please leave, he said again. Not as a request, but as an order. I stepped back. Emily didn't dare hug me, didn't dare speak, didn't dare move. But her eyes followed me as I walked out the door. Eyes that whispered, Mom, don't stop trying. And I silently promised, I won't. That night I held the emergency bag, the recording, and the lawyer's notes. This wasn't just a troubled marriage. This was a dangerous man who had isolated my daughter, controlled her, and broken her spirit. But he had no idea. A mother who decides to fight is the most unstoppable force in the world. 3 days passed without a single message from Emily. Not even a silent mom. Are you there? The silence felt wrong. Dangerous. Then late at night my phone buzzed. It was Emily. Not a message. A call. But the line was silent. I whispered, Emily, can you talk? No answer. Just soft breathing. Then I heard it. A quiet sob. Emily. Sweetheart, what happened? Still silence. And then, in a terrified whisper, Mom, don't hang up. My heart nearly stopped. Her voice didn't sound like my daughter. It sounded like someone hiding in her own home. Before I could ask anything more, I heard footsteps in the background. Heavy footsteps. Emily suddenly gasped quietly, like someone had entered the room. Emily. I whispered. No reply. Just a small click. The call ended. I froze. Something was wrong. Very wrong. This wasn't normal fear. This was fear that comes right before something breaks. I grabbed my keys. My hand shook so badly that I dropped them twice. But I drove. Fast. Too fast. My heart pounding against my ribs. I didn't care if Daniel yelled. I didn't care if he threatened me. I didn't care about consequences. My daughter needed me. And nothing on this planet was going to stop me. I reached the building, ran up the stairs, and knocked on their door. No response. I knocked again. Still nothing. The hallway was painfully silent. I tried the door handle, and to my shock, it opened. Just a few inches. Enough for me to slip inside. And what I saw made my stomach twist. Emily sat on the living room floor, knees pulled to her chest, face red from crying, one cheek slightly swollen. Her hands were shaking. Her hair was messy, her breath quick and shallow. "Emily," I whispered, rushing toward her. She lifted her head slowly. Her eyes were dull, glassy, like someone who had cried so long. She couldn't produce tears anymore. She reached for me with trembling fingers. "Mom." Her voice cracked. "Please take me home." Those 6 words broke something inside me. For months she had been silent, scared, confused. But now, she was asking to leave. Finally, I held her face gently. "I'm taking you home," I whispered. "Right now." But then she whispered something terrifying. "Mom, he's still here." My blood ran cold. Before I could speak, a shadow moved near the hallway. Daniel. He walked out slowly, face calm, hair perfectly in place, as if nothing had happened. He looked at Emily, then at me. "Why are you here?" he asked quietly. Not angry, not shouting, just quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that hides violence. I stood up slowly. "Emily is leaving," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "Is she?" Emily's fingers tightened around mine, her whole body shaking. Daniel stepped closer, hands in his pockets, eyes locked on mine. "You're overreacting again," he said calmly. "You always make things dramatic." I didn't move. I didn't blink. "Emily is leaving," I repeated. He smiled. A soft, chilling smile. "You can't take my wife anywhere. She belongs here." Belongs. Like she was property, not a person. Emily whispered. "Mom, don't leave me. Please." Daniel looked at her sharply, and she flinched again. I stepped in front of Emily, blocking Daniel's view of her. "Move," he said quietly. "No," I replied. He stared at me, really stared, like he was deciding what to do next. And for the first time, I saw fear in his eyes, because I wasn't afraid anymore. Because a mother protecting her child is stronger than any abuser. I took out my phone, opened the audio recording, pressed play. Emily's sobbing. Daniel's voice saying, "You embarrass me when you act stupid." The loud crash. Her terrified cries. It filled the room. Daniel froze. He didn't smile. He didn't blink. He didn't speak. For the first time, his mask shattered. I stepped closer. "You ever touch her again," I whispered, "I will take this recording to the police and make sure you lose everything." Emily held my arm tightly from behind. Daniel's eyes shifted, not in anger, in fear. I pulled Emily to her feet. "Let's go." Daniel didn't move, didn't stop us, didn't say a word. He just stood there, frozen. As I took my daughter out of the apartment and down the hallway, Emily kept whispering, "Don't let go. Please don't let go." "I won't," I told her, holding her hand all the way, as if letting go even for a second might make everything fall apart again. And that night, for the first time in months, my daughter was free. But the story wasn't over. The fight had just begun. When I brought Emily home, she walked into her old bedroom, like someone entering a safe world she had almost forgotten existed. She sat on the bed, touched the blanket, looked around slowly. Then she whispered, "It still smells like home." I sat beside her, stroking her hair gently. "You're safe now," I said. She nodded, but her body was still trembling, as if fear had soaked into her bones, and refused to leave. It was around 2 a.m. when Emily suddenly woke up screaming. I ran to her room. She was sitting upright, hands over her ears, rocking back and forth. "He's coming. Mom, he's coming. Don't let him in. Please." She was shaking so violently that the bed trembled. I hugged her tightly. "He can't get in, Emily. You're with me. He doesn't know where you are." But she sobbed harder. "He always finds me." It broke me, because trauma doesn't end the moment a victim leaves the abuser. Sometimes it gets louder before it gets quieter. The next morning, my phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Where is she?" Another. "You think you can hide her from me?" And then, "Bring her back before things get worse." I didn't reply. I took screenshots, saved them, documented everything. Guys, now, this wasn't just emotional abuse. This was intimidation. And I wasn't going to let it go unpunished. I brought Emily to the attorney's office. She sat quietly, fingers intertwined, avoiding eye contact. The lawyer looked at her gently. Emily, do you want protection? She hesitated. Then she whispered, yes. Her voice broke on that single word. But that yes was the beginning of her freedom. The lawyer nodded. We can file for a restraining order today. We'll also start divorce paperwork. But Emily, you'll need to stay strong. He'll try to fight. Emily's lips trembled. I don't want to be afraid anymore. I took her hand. You won't be. Not anymore. By evening, a police officer arrived at our home. He took Emily's statement, listened to the recording, saw the photos of her bruises. He wrote everything down, face hardening with every detail. When he finished, he said, this is serious domestic abuse. We'll serve the restraining order tomorrow morning. Emily exhaled shakily. It was the first time she had ever seen law enforcement. On her side, the restraining order wasn't even 24 hours old. When Daniel showed up outside my house, he didn't step onto the porch. He knew the police would arrest him, but he stood on the sidewalk, hands in his pockets, smiling like everything was normal. I went outside. He didn't even look angry, just amused. You really think she's going to stay with you? He said calmly. I didn't respond. He shrugged. She always comes back. It's what she does. Something in his voice chilled me. The certainty, as if he believed Emily was incapable of living without him. But this time, he was wrong. Emily stood behind the curtain, watching him. The moment she saw his face, she backed away, breath quick, hands shaking. He's waiting for me, she whispered. No, I said firmly. He's waiting to scare you. And this time, he failed. Because Emily didn't run to him. She didn't freeze. She didn't obey. She stayed hidden and safe inside the house. For the first time, Daniel had no control. 2 days later, Emily started therapy. The therapist was calm, warm, gentle. Emily could barely speak at first. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. But she tried. When she came out of the room, she looked exhausted, but lighter, like she had walked out, carrying something she had never shared before. How do you feel? I asked. She took a shaky breath. Scared, but hopeful. Hope. Something I hadn't heard from her in so long, that it almost made me cry. Sophie and her mom came to visit. The moment little Sophie saw Emily, she ran to her, hugging her waist tightly. Aunt Emily, are you okay now? Emily's tears fell instantly. She knelt down and hugged Sophie back. You saved me, she whispered softly. You were braver than all of us. Sophie smiled shyly. I didn't want you to be hurt. That tiny sentence, from a 6-year-old, meant more than any of us ever realized. That night, for the first time in months, Emily slept peacefully. No panic attack. No nightmares. Just quiet breathing. And a calm expression. I sat beside her, watching her chest rise and fall, thanking God silently, because healing doesn't happen in a moment. But this was the beginning. The next morning, the sheriff delivered the divorce papers to Daniel's workplace. He called Emily instantly, but his calls couldn't go through because of the restraining order. He then messaged me. If she wants war, she's going to get it. I saved that message too. Emily sat on the couch, hugging a pillow tightly. He's furious, she whispered. Yes, I said. And that means he knows. He's losing. We gathered at my house. Me, Emily, her sister, Sophie's dad, even Emily's cousins. Everyone came. Everyone stood beside her. For the first time, Emily wasn't alone. In this fight, her sister took her hand. You're safe here, she said softly. We won't let him near you. Emily broke down, crying into her sister's shoulder. Not tears of fear this time, tears of belonging. That evening, Emily walked to the mirror, touched her hair, and whispered, I can breathe again. Her skin wasn't pale anymore. Her shoulders weren't tense. Her eyes weren't empty. For the first time, in a long time, I saw my daughter, the real her, not the broken version Daniel created. But deep down, we all knew the truth. Daniel wasn't going to disappear quietly. Abusers rarely do. And the next phase, the custody battle, the court hearings, the final showdown, was coming. I looked at Emily as she curled up on the couch, drinking tea, wrapped in a warm blanket. She finally looked safe. But the storm hadn't ended. It was only gathering strength. And I was ready, because a mother protecting her child doesn't fear storms. She walked straight into them. A week later, the envelope arrived in the mail, thick official, stamped by the county court. Emily stared at it for a long moment, her fingers trembling. "This is it," she whispered. "He's fighting back." I opened the envelope beside her. Inside was Daniel's response. He wanted reconciliation. He claimed Emily was emotionally unstable. He claimed I had brainwashed her. He claimed she had violent tendencies. Every lie felt like poison. Emily's voice broke. "He's twisting everything." I placed a hand on her back. "That's what abusers do. But this time, he won't win." Our lawyer studied the papers calmly. "This was expected," he said. "Abusers deny, deflect, and blame. But we have evidence." Emily looked scared. "What if he convinces the court?" "He always convinces everyone." The lawyer leaned forward. "Emily, abusers manipulate people until someone finally exposes the truth. And this time, we have a witness." Emily blinked. "Sophie," she whispered. He nodded. "A child's testimony, recorded by professionals, is one of the strongest pieces of evidence." Emily covered her mouth as tears filled her eyes. My little niece. She shouldn't have had to see any of this. But Sophie's courage was about to save her. That evening, as Emily sat on the porch, breathing in fresh air, a car slowed down in front of the house. Daniel. He didn't step out. He knew he'd be arrested, but he rolled the window down. His voice was soft, almost gentle. "Emily, come home. I miss you." She froze. His manipulation was a different kind this time. Not anger, not threats, but guilt. "Emily," he said again, "you know I love you. Your mom is making things worse." Emily shook her head slowly. "No, Daniel. You made things worse." His expression changed instantly. Softness gone. Ice cold. He drove off without another word. But that change, that switch, proved everything. Later that night, Emily walked into my room. "Mom," she said quietly, "do you think I'm weak?" I looked at her stunned. "Emily, you survived abuse. You endured fear every day. You protected your niece. And you left him." She swallowed hard. "That doesn't feel weak to me. That feels like strength." Emily looked down at her hands. "They don't shake anymore," she whispered. "Not as much." Healing had begun. At her next therapy session, Emily cried harder than I'd ever seen. Not scared tears. Releasing tears. She talked about her first fight with Daniel. The first time he yelled. The first time he grabbed her arm too tightly. The first time she hid bruises with makeup. "I thought it was normal," she sobbed. "I thought I was the problem." The therapist gently said, "That's what psychological abuse does. It makes you doubt your own reality." When she walked out, her face was puffy, but her shoulders were straighter, like she had just put down a piece of the weight she'd been carrying for years. 2 days later, Sophie sat in a child-friendly interview room with a trained investigator. Her feet barely touched the ground. The woman asked gently, "Sweetheart, can you tell me what you saw at your aunt's house?" Sophie looked down, twisting her fingers. Then softly, "I saw Daniel push Aunt Emily." She cried. She told him to stop. But he didn't. The woman nodded encouragingly. "You're doing great. Anything else?" Sophie nodded again. "He said she was stupid. And I got scared. So I hid. And recorded it." The room fell silent. The truth, spoken from a child's mouth, had a purity no adult could distort. The court date was set. Daniel hired an aggressive lawyer. He submitted edited photos, false statements, character attacks, typical abuser tactics. Emily grew more anxious. As the day approached, "What if I fall apart in court?" she whispered. "You won't," I said firmly. "You'll speak your truth. And the truth doesn't fall apart." Emily couldn't sleep. She paced the living room, hands trembling. What if he looks at me the way he used to? What if I freeze? I held her arms. "Emily, you're not the same woman." He controlled. She took a shaky breath. "I'm scared he'll break me again." I shook my head. "No, sweetheart. He won't break you. Because this time, you're not alone." She hugged me tightly, crying into my shoulder. "I just want my life back," she whispered. "You'll get it." Promised. "I swear you will." The next morning, we walked into the courthouse. Daniel was already inside, wearing a suit, acting calm, pretending to be the victim. Emily's knees weakened. The moment their eyes met, he smirked. A small, cruel smirk. Only she and I noticed. I gripped her hand. "Don't look at him. Look at me. I'm right here." She nodded, wiping her tears, steeling herself. This was it. The moment she would face her abuser. In public, with the law on her side. Everyone stood. The judge entered, stern professional, unaffected by emotion. She looked at the paperwork, the evidence, the witness list. Her eyes paused. "On Sophie's name. A child witness?" she asked the attorneys. "Yes, Your Honor." Our lawyer said. "Her testimony is critical." Daniel's lawyer objected. "A child is impressionable." The judge raised a hand. "I'll decide." She reviewed the audio recording, listened to Emily's statement, heard Daniel's text threats. Slowly, her expression hardened, and for the first time, I felt hope stronger than fear. Emily stepped up to the witness stand, hands trembling just enough for me to notice. The bailiff swore her in. She sat down slowly, avoiding Daniel's eyes. Our lawyer approached gently. "Emily, can you tell the court why you left your husband?" She swallowed hard. "Because I was scared," she said softly. "He yelled. He controlled everything. He grabbed me. More than once." The courtroom went quiet. Daniel stared at her, expression blank. But his jaw moved. A small angry twitch. Emily continued, voice trembling. "I thought I could fix him. I thought I was the problem. But the night he hit me, in front of my niece, I knew I had to leave." A tear slipped down her cheek. The judge watched closely. Daniel's lawyer stood, buttoned his suit jacket, walked toward Emily, with a confident smirk. "Mrs. Carter," he said smoothly, "isn't it true that you exaggerate things when you're emotional?" Emily's fingers tightened on the chair. "No," she whispered. He stepped closer. "You have anxiety. You cry easily. Is it possible you misunderstood your husband's intentions?" Emily looked at him, eyes suddenly sharper. "No," she said firmly. "Fear isn't a misunderstanding." A few people in the courtroom murmured. The lawyer wasn't expecting that strength. He blinked twice. Before regaining his composure, our lawyer stepped forward. "Your Honor, we'd like to submit Exhibit A." The judge nodded. The courtroom fell silent. As the audio recording began, Emily crying softly, Daniel calling her stupid, a loud crash. Her scream, every second, echoed painfully through the room. Daniel's face changed, the mask slipping. Some people in the gallery shook their heads slowly, disgusted. When the recording ended, the judge looked at Daniel. Her voice was calm, but cold. "Mr. Carter, do you deny this is your voice?" Daniel swallowed. "No. But, thank you," the judge said, cutting him off. His lawyer froze. Sophie wasn't brought into court. Too traumatic. But her recorded statement was allowed into evidence. The investigator's video played. The interviewer's calm voice. "Sweetheart, what did you see?" Sophie's small voice. I saw Daniel push Aunt Emily. She cried. She said stop. But he didn't stop. A pin drop could have been heard. Daniel closed his eyes, jaw clenched, breathing slow and angry. The judge wrote notes rapidly. Sophie's voice continued. I was scared. I hid behind the couch. I recorded it, so someone would help her. Emily cried silently. Even the court reporter paused typing to wipe her eyes. Daniel's lawyer stood. Your Honor, children misinterpret things. But Daniel suddenly slammed his hand on the table. She's lying. The courtroom gasped. Emily flinched violently. The bailiff stepped forward. The judge raised her voice sharply. Mr. Carter, you will sit down. And remain silent. Daniel sat, breathing hard, rage visible on his face. In that moment, everyone saw his real nature. Not the calm husband, not the victim he pretended to be, but the abuser. Behind the mask, after reviewing the evidence, the judge leaned forward. I have heard enough. The room fell silent. She looked at Emily. Mrs. Carter, you demonstrated extraordinary courage by leaving a dangerous situation and seeking help. Emily wiped tears, nodding. Then the judge turned to Daniel, and her tone hardened like steel. Mr. Carter, your actions, verbal, emotional, and physical abuse, are evident in every piece of evidence presented. Your texts, your threats, your behavior today in this courtroom strengthen the case against you. Daniel's face drained of color. Then came the decision. Firm, clear, final. This court grants a full restraining order against Mr. Carter for 5 years. Daniel's eyes widened. The judge continued. Mrs. Carter is granted exclusive residence rights to the marital property until the divorce is finalized. Emily gasped softly. And furthermore, the judge added, Mr. Carter is ordered to complete anger management and domestic violence counseling before any future petition is heard. Daniel whispered under his breath, You ruined my life. Emily finally looked at him, not with fear, but with truth. No, she said quietly. You ruined your own. When court ended, Emily stepped outside and exhaled so deeply, her whole body shook. Not from fear, but relief. Raw, overwhelming relief. She looked at me, tears streaming. Mom, I'm finally free. I hugged her tightly, my voice breaking. You're safe now, Emily. It's over. For a moment, she closed her eyes and breathed normally, something she hadn't done in years. Daniel exited the courthouse last, head down, security walking behind him. No one spoke to him. No one comforted him. No one believed his lies anymore. His mask was gone. His power was gone. His control was gone. He walked away, small, defeated, exposed, for the first time in his life. And Emily didn't even look back. That night, Emily sat on the porch, wrapped in a warm blanket, watching the sunset. Her sister sat beside her. Sophie played in the yard. I brought her tea. For the first time in years, her smile was real. Not forced. Not scared. Not broken. Real. She whispered, I feel like I'm breathing my own air again. I placed my hand over hers. You got your life back, sweetheart. She nodded softly. And this time, no one will take it from me.